And we're live. And hello, everybody. This is Esther Nagle of Balance and Breathe. And I help women deal with stress in life and recovery to help them to manage stress and learn to live and love themselves in peace and happiness. And I am delighted today to be talking to Millionaire Method, who is an internationally renowned wealth coach. And I've known Millionaire through online world for quite a few months now, and I've read her book and I've watched her videos on her blog, and I've read lots of stuff by her, and I just know that she really knows her stuff when it comes to helping you to embrace financial freedom, shift your money blocks, and step into the abundance that is yours to take, should you choose to do so. So I'm not going to spend ages talking about this because this is absolutely not my area of expertise. The reason I am so excited to talk to Millionaire is because I really need to know what she has to teach. So I'm going to head straight over to Millionaire. Hi, Millionaire. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hi, Esther. It's my pleasure to be with you and your listeners. So thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I started reading your book yesterday, which you generously given us a free download on your website. I started reading it yesterday. It's really good. I'm really looking forward to digging into that a bit more and trying to figure out where I'm going wrong in life. So you've got a really interesting backstory about that's sort of everything that's brought you to where you are in life now. The path that you've led hasn't been you were born into money. You've had to work hard to get where you are. So could you start by telling us just a bit about where you've been and how you've got to where you are now, please?
Sure. Well, right now I am financially independent. I live in 2 countries. I own beautiful homes in the most desirable places in the world. One in the south of France, another one in the south of Florida. And I have a beautiful family, amazing daughter, and I am very grateful that I'm in a good position to have freedom of choice. I can choose where I work. I can choose how much I work. So this is a blessing. But like you mentioned, it was not always that way. I was not born into wealth. I didn't marry a wealthy guy. I literally created my financial independence. And it started with me coming to the United States from Lithuania. I'm a first-generation immigrant. We came in to the United States in 1990, and no money, no knowledge of language. So I started as a florist assistant, working minimum wage job and learning English, even though I had master's degree in physics from my country. So in 1 year, I self-taught English, and my first job was working as a consultant for major Wall Street company, Merrill Lynch. And, it was challenging to really establish myself as someone like a go-to person in the financial industry. But over the years, I became executive for major financial companies, from American Express to Morgan Stanley to Merrill Lynch, Deutsche Bank. So I worked for a lot of companies over the years. And at some point, and I was making really good money, and I had a prestigious job. I had financial, satisfaction, but something was missing. And at some point, I started feeling that I don't have meaning, that I am not living my life. I'm kind of like, passing by. And I felt really empty inside. So at some point, I felt like I want to change something, but I wasn't sure what, because I didn't have clarity. What is it exactly that really I want in life? Like, when you have this fogginess, it's hard to see where you're going. So I decided to go to business school and get, MBA from top of the business schools in the country. So I was accepted to Wharton Business School. I graduated with this prestigious degree, but again, I wasn't sure what to do next. So at the same time, my marriage fell apart. I decided not to go back to corporate America. So I left my beautiful house, left everything to my husband, rented a tiny apartment, and decided to start over. And I remember my girlfriend was saying, like, at this age, I was in my 40s. At this age, my girlfriend said, most women already have, beautiful houses with the swimming pools and, Mercedes, and you look like a student. And so basically, I dared to change my life because at this point, I felt that I'm not living my dream life. I'm living my fears. And I know that many women are in a very similar situation. And it didn't happen overnight, but at some point I had courage to change what was not working for me, from my career to my personal relationship. So, and I started, I decided not to go to corporate world, and started my own company. And the beginning was very challenging because it was, the market crashed very, very soon after I started. So my business partners who invested money with me, they started demanding, I was managing their money basically, and they started demanding their money back. They were scared. So I went through a very challenging time when I became depressed. I got into a car accident, didn't have medical insurance. So it was living alone in my little apartment near New York City. So I'm sharing this because I want to show that, where you are right now does not define where you can be, does not define where you can be. So at some point, I was fortunate enough because I felt very lonely. I felt embarrassed. I felt like, word failure was written on my forehead. And I was fortunate enough to meet a life coach who told me that unless I master my inner game, I will not be able to achieve success in my outer game. And at this point, I had no idea what inner game was. So that kind of, this person helped me to see bigger picture of where I was at this time, because I started reading more about spirituality. I decided to become a certified yoga instructor and meditation instructor. So I kind of like opened myself to a very different dimension in life. And this experience, because I already had experience investing in the stock market when, from my work on Wall Street for many years. And at this point, I had experience investing in real estate from having my own investment company that wasn't making investments in real estate. But I absolutely was not aware of the whole other dimensions, from mindset to divine power that we all have in us. So this experience really was my turning point. And, over some time, my business started to pick up, and I started feeling more confident and more clear. And, things basically turned around, and I became financially independent within 7 years, which, I think is great. So now I can live where I want to live. I'm location independent, and I can work with who I want to work with. I can do what I want to do, which is the freedom of choice that I want other women to have as well. And this experience, this challenging experience, helped me to develop this 4-dimensional integrative method of creating lasting wealth. I call it the Millionaire Method. Yeah. So the Millionaire Method has 4 dimensions that include not only practical aspects of creating wealth, like intentional money management or strategic investing. It also includes developing abundance mindset and leveraging the divine power that we all have in us. So that's what all my books, all my mentoring and coaching services integrate, all these principles that I just described to you. So I don't know if I answer your question, but that's what I wanted just to share. How this Millionaire Method came to life through my experiences. So I embody what I teach. I'm not perfect. I was not born to wealth, but I know that it's possible because I was able to create this in my life. So I'm very passionate about this. That's my mission and my passion.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing. That is an incredible story. I've read and heard bits of your story before, but to have it all put together like that is quite remarkable. And I was just blown away when you mentioned about being a yoga teacher as well. That you trained as a yoga teacher, which obviously that's my thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that we had that thing in common. It's brilliant.
It's quite unusual for someone who is very kind of, I'm trained as a scientist, and I worked as a executive for brokerage and companies, and yet for me, I'm very, very rooted in spirituality. I think it's very, very important, and yoga is just such an important part of my life. I have a yoga room in my home, separate yoga room. We do yoga with my husband every morning. Yeah, I have all kinds of DVDs, and sometimes I lead him, sometimes watch DVD.
That's amazing. I'm actually in my yoga room right now. I would show you, but my son has been in here and is full of toys at the moment as well. But this is actually my yoga room that I'm sitting in right now. So I do as well. That's brilliant. That explains. I was going to ask you about this blog post. You wrote this brilliant blog post about the energy frequency of emotions and about how, we have negative emotions and we have positive emotions, and they have different energy to them and different frequencies to them. And you can tell that when you're feeling those emotions, that, joy feels light, whereas guilt and shame and worry feel really heavy. And we use that language to describe those emotions. I guess that comes from your, I wondered, that kind of stood out to me on your blog. You've got these blog posts about Bitcoin, and then there's this one about energy. I'm like, wow, I'm going to read that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of like unusual in the unusual pool of people, because I have a very deep interest in metaphysics and energy healing. I'm also a healer. I use different healing modalities, from timeline therapy to instant miracle and peace process. So yeah, that's what I incorporate in my coaching as well, because I want to have integrative approach when I when I work with a woman who really wants to feel more joy, because money is not the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is to feel peace, to feel joy. And but money at the same time, it's a very important tool for us, because when you focus on paying bills, it's very hard to be expensive, very hard to be creative. So that's what I want to give. I want to give women this toolkit that they could use, so they could not feel this anxiety around money, around creating wealth and growing wealth. So that's what I want to offer.
It's incredible. I just love that, because everything, I mean, I love that it's a holistic approach that you take, where you are looking at the emotional, the entire, you got Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and your approach seems to cover all levels of that it is about, it's about the, you need the financial security, you need the safety, but you also need that sense of self, you need that inner transformation as well that you need to go through to get to where you want to go, and you also are seeking at the same time. Because we're all seeking that self-actualization, and you are helping people along that route, because you can't think about self-actualization if you're worrying if you can pay the gas bill next week.
That's exactly right. You said it very well. Exactly. So that's why I decided that, I want to offer this integrative approach, holistic approach to creating wealth. And ultimately, that's what worked for me. And I only teach what worked for me. I cannot teach something that I haven't tested,
No.
so.
No, it's wonderful. It's absolutely very inspirational. I mean, not just your story and your whole methodology. It's not one I've come across before, right, on quite this level of the holistic approach to life. I love it. I love as well your business name, Dare to Change Life. You actually used that phrase in your story, and I was going to ask you where the name come from, but I think you've already told me, haven't you? That is actually your story, isn't it?
Dare to Change Life is my story, and I believe it's a story that many women could also make, so they could live their dream life, not their fears, because it's unfortunately too many people live their fears and not their dream lives. And that's why I, at some point, because when you realize, and I'm talking about myself and everybody who is listening to us, when you realize that certain things that are really important to you are not working in your life, that's the time to say, it's time for me, it's my time, it's time for me to dare to change my life. So that's where the name came from.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that lots of people that are going to watch this will recognize that moment of thinking, I need to change. And I've been there myself with completely different situation. But when you hit that wall and you're thinking, I'm either going to stay here where I'm utterly miserable, or I've got to do something radical. That's an empowered moment. It feels like you're in hell, but it's an empowered moment at the same time, isn't it? That you're not going to go any lower. You're not willing to go any lower. You're gonna.
Yeah, we all have a choice. We everybody, regardless of financial situation or personal situation, every person has a choice to settle or dare to change what is not working. So I encourage all women, when they really feel that they had enough and they're not willing to settle, that it's their defining moment. It's their moment to change.
I love it. I love it. I think that could be one of the motto to go up on my wall over there that I'm looking at when I'm doing my work, Dare to Change. So you do a lot of work around helping people with their money blocks and helping people to get over to do that inner game, to change that inner game that you've talked about. You take people through the process that you went to. You must come up against, I would imagine you've seen pretty much every significant money block that people tend to come up against. Is there one that you would say is the most common, or are there certain, several that you see that have come up again and again in your clients?
Well, as you mentioned, you saw my article about 10 common money blocks. But today, just for the purpose of this conversation, I just want to mention top 3, which are really, really common. So I think that the top one is, I think money is the cause of all evil, or different variations of this. Like, I would rather be poor than sell my soul, to money or whatever. So any variations of money is the cause of all evil is very, very common. And where does it come from? It's definitely not logical, right? Because most people will say it's ridiculous, but yet it's not on the subconscious level. They feel this maybe from family programming, maybe from what they heard from their friends. So it's some kind of thinking pattern or thought patterns that we picked up somewhere, and it got reinforced and reinforced and reinforced, and it became very prominent pattern in our subconscious mind. So it's not like you thinking, oh, money are all evil, but there is a program that is running on your subconscious mind that repeats this pattern. And guess what? That's what you see in your life. That's what reflected in your life. So that's one. Another one, I'm not good at managing my money. You know, it's so common among women, like, you know, yeah, but I don't know how to manage my money. You know, I only, you know, have enough to pay my bills, so I don't have enough to pay my bills. So again, sometimes it's conscious. I know women who openly say, I'm not good enough, I'm not good at managing money. But sometimes it's subconscious, right? So again, whatever you think, whatever is, prominent pattern of thinking in your subconscious mind, that's going to be pictured out or reflected in your experiences. Okay, so and you will your busy mind will look for proof of this pattern, not the other way around. So and that's why it's so important to be aware. And I'll tell you how to rectify this, but it's very important to be aware what is that you have running in your subconscious mind, because that we create through subconscious mind. That's why it's so important. So and then I'll give you one more, which is very, very common, especially among women. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be successful in this business. I'm not good enough to be wealthy. I'm not good enough to be a millionaire. And this I'm not good enough, it's pretty much at the very bottom, at the very foundation of almost all money blocks. You know, this I'm not good enough pattern of thinking. So these patterns lead to choices, and choices lead to actions, and actions lead to experiences. So that's like it's a catch-22 circle. That's why it's so important to work on your inner game, on your mindset, on your mentality around money and wealth, and in general, your mentality about success. Because whatever you see in your life, it's because it's a reflection of some kind of patterns of thinking that you have running in your subconscious mind. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, okay. You did, and I'm wondering if you know me because I've just written those down. Yeah. That's it. Those are probably my top three. So I guess I must be fairly common amongst women, particularly that those are definitely blocks I recognize. And I suppose a lot of that comes from childhood, and it comes from we're not even entirely aware. Unless we start to think about it, we're not aware of where it comes from. So there's quite a lot of digging that needs to go on in order to figure out where they came from, and then kind of put that idea to bed, I suppose.
And I just want to make another comment. Unfortunately, when we have these patterns of thinking, we almost take it as absolute truth. It's like this is the fact. Yeah. We rarely question our assumptions, right? So, and because we don't question, we take them as truth, and that's how we live by.
Yeah, and like you said, the more that we believe something, the more we will see evidence to support that idea.
Exactly.
And so we never think to question it. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah. So how would you recommend then that, like, say, so the money is evil, money means you lose your soul money block. How would you go about shifting that, for example?
Well, first of all, it's awareness that at the very, I would say it should be very first step to become aware of what is it that you assume is true, but it's not, right? So create a list of your assumptions around money. and question each of these assumptions. Really question, because just the fact that it's like, you know, having a flashlight and entering the dark room that never saw the light of the day. This awareness alone is very powerful. Okay, so another thing that I think aspect of releasing this these patterns, that not supportive patterns, is to have a clear intention. What is it that you want to have in your life? What is it that you want to create in your life? So intention is very, very important. So just like I said, you need to create like a list of your absolute truthful statements around money. Write down your intentions. How do you want to feel? What do you want to have? What kind of person you want to become that will have what you want to have, right? So intention is number one step, I would say. And then the focus is how we create. We create with our attention and intention. So attention is pretty much focus, right? So when you put focus on something that you want to create versus that you don't want to have in your life, that really makes a big difference, because that's how we create. And the last step is action. When you focus in on what you want to have in life, on what you want to experience in life, what you want to create in life, versus what you don't, you will take action. Your choices would be aligned with your focus, and your actions would be aligned with your choices. So it's like a chain. It's like a chain of creating the experience, creating the life that you want to have. And it all starts with awareness, your intention, your focus or attention, your choices, and your actions. And, you know, you always start with the foundation, right? So that's where the foundation is. And then, you know, you don't really need to chase money. You don't really need to chase clients, because once you embody these principles that you want to live out loud, you know, things will just be effortlessly attracted to you with ease, with grace. So that's what I wanted to share about.
That sounds amazing. I love that. And I love that this all starts with you said the first thing is awareness. And that is, I mean, that could have come straight out of a yoga manual, couldn't it? Yoga teacher training book, because that's where everything starts from. So right, I love that. So there's it comes back as well. I was thinking about that blog post that you had about the emotions and about the range of emotions. So if you're, instead of thinking, I need to be able to pay my bills and panicking about the bills, and you're trying to create in that frame of mind, as opposed to, I want this beautiful, joyful life, and you're in a positive frame of mind about it, then you're going to be more relaxed, I suppose, and you're going to be more optimistic. And it's like, when you're practicing gratitude, that you're looking out for more positive things. So you're, instead of in that place of fear, you're in that place of joy and opportunity and more.
You know, yeah, gratitude is like the best pill for healing all the fears. Because when you feel grateful, you in an expansion state, right? When you feel I don't have this, I don't have enough, it's a scarcity state that very, you know, it's a, what is the word I'm looking for? Contraction state. Yes. So it's very, very important to be aware of what you're grateful for. For example, since very beginning, when we didn't have much, I always felt, thanks God I'm rich. Thanks God I'm rich, because we have a roof over our head, we have food on the table, we have a loving family. You know, I had so many things to be grateful for that, yeah, I have to pay the bills. And I was like, you know what? I'm grateful that I have money that, I was working minimum wage, but I had enough money to pay my bills, and I had to learn how to manage my money so I will be able to pay my bills. So every experience in life has a front and a back, has a gift and a challenge, because we live in a dual world, right? So every experience has a gift built in, even if it's challenging experience. So that's another good habit to have. Like, what is the gift in this? What is the gift in this challenge right now? Whether it's, financial challenge or health challenge, because you probably met a lot of women who maybe had cancer or other terminal diseases, and they said, this really changed my life because they were able to see the gift in this experience. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not saying it's simple, but those women who can do that, it completely changes their life. So
yeah, and it makes you much more resilient as well when you're going through the difficult times, because you know that when you get to the end of it, you're going to look back, even if you can't see the
that's
gift
one of the gifts.
Look back and you see, like,
that's the gift.
Yeah.
Do you think I was thinking that all the challenges when I was depressed and close to, being suicidal, do you think at this moment I was able to see the gift in this experience? I never thought that at some point in my life, I will turn it around and will be in a position to help other women to turn their lives around too. So it's a really good awareness that, when you go, especially when you going through the challenging time, to see what is a gift in this experience, because everything has a front and a back, everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I highly recommend gratitude, and I love that you do as well. I think that's a wonderful practice to bring into life. Your book that I was reading yesterday, that you were very generously giving away for free on your website, this is called A Shift Towards Abundance. And you say in there, you've got a chapter that's called Abundance is Your Birthright. Now, I love that. And I think that you're probably going to say something in response to my question that's going to really resonate with me as a yoga teacher. But I was going to wonder, for the benefit of myself and for all the other people that are listening, could you explain the concept of abundance being our birthright? Because we tend to think of wealth and abundance as being something you have to work for or that you get born into, but a birthright for all is different.
I believe, and it's my belief, I believe that humans are sparks of divine power, right? So we are not in this experience to struggle, to hustle, to chase after money. We're born, look at the children, they're born when they're born and they're young, they're so full of joy, they're so unrestricted. So they see everything as just something so amazing, and they look abundant because they feel abundant, because that's how we are born, right? We're born with this programming that you are a spark of divine, and as such you have everything to feel abundant and then be abundant. However, our programming, at some point when, adults start saying, and your kids are very observant, and they start noticing that parents maybe argue about money, and, they constantly talk about, wealthy people in a negative light, etc. This programming sets in. And then it's reinforced by, social programming at school, at work. The comparison starts to kick in. Oh, this kid has a car, but my parents cannot buy me a car. This neighbors, they have a beautiful house, and we live in a shack. All of this stuff, it's all comparison, and it shrinks our possibilities. It shrinks our perception of what is possible for us. And, we, at some point, we stop believing that certain things are possible. But we're not born. But we're not born with this fear, with this need to compare. We're not born with this. We're born full of joy and wonder and just really, unrestricted love. That's how we're born with. So that's how I would answer your question. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, that's lovely. We can learn so much from children, can't we? We can absolutely learn so many lessons about how to live well from watching a toddler at play. Because they are completely in the moment, they're completely full
In the
of
moment.
That is wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. You've already talked about the scarcity mindset, and I think that's very prevalent kind of mindset, isn't it? It feels like it's almost one that we're kind of conditioned into by the world out there. You said about a common block for women in particular is that I'm not good enough. And it feels like the world out there wants us all to believe that. And so that's a really powerful message that we've all got, isn't it? That we're not good enough. And that comes from that comparison that you're talking about, that we look around, we look at the models in the magazines, we look at the pop stars, and I'm not that good, I'm not that pretty, I'm not that thin, I'm not that whatever. And that is it feels like it's such a heavy weight on us, doesn't it? That idea that we need to try and compete with everyone, and that we're not encouraged to just be who we are and be happy with who we are. So yeah, I love that. Your book again. I keep coming back to this book because it is that good. If you get a hold of it, you should definitely. You talk about your 10 guidelines for achieving financial freedom. And I mean, I'm not asking you to give away all your secrets on this call, obviously, but I was just wondering if you would be able to just give a brief summary about those 10 guidelines, just to give people an idea of how they can start the process of moving towards financial freedom.
I would say it's a good question. Thank you. And, if you want, I can go over all of them. I have my book here. But I would like to start with the fact that if you want to change your financial situation or any situation that is not working for you for this matter, the first step is to take responsibility, not to blame your ex-husband, not to blame your parents, not to blame government. Say, this is my life. I can find a solution. I can make it work. So because when you don't take responsibility, it means that someone else has control over your life, has control over your results. And it's not possible to change this if someone else has control over it. So that's why it's very, very important to say, I created this. I created the debt that I have right now. I created the maybe challenging health condition that I experience right now. But because I created, I have the way to solve it and to change it around. So that's, I would say, taking responsibility for your experiences and for what you're creating is number one. Excuse me, I have a little bit of...
That's a very scary thing, but it's also an incredibly empowering moment when you can do that, isn't it? When you say, okay, I've done this. This is where I am. What can I do now? It is a really empowering moment. Yeah, that's a great first step. Thank you.
And then another one that I think is important is if you have a challenging financial situation and you really got to the point that, you're committed to change it. You cannot take it anymore. It's time for you to change. To start with, you need to spend less. You need to find a way to earn more and borrow less from the credit cards, for example, and really find creative ways about streams of income, right? So it's really that simple. You have to spend less. You have to find a way to earn more. you have to stop borrowing so you will not accumulate your debt more and more, and really start seeing creative ways to make more income, because I always like to say that your savings are your seeds for the wealth that you want to create, and then invest in it's just a fertilizer. But you really need to be able to save money so you could grow it, right? So that's what I think is very important. And then if you do have debt right now, some people just like to pretend that, it's okay, and one day somehow this debt miraculously will disappear. I'm talking about like credit card debt with very high interest rates. I'm a big believer that regardless of your income, there is a way to be intentional about the way you spend money. And, sometimes we have a period of contraction when we need to cut our expenses significantly, and maybe change the place where we live so the rent would not be that high, etc. And sometimes we have phases of expansion when we actually invest and money start growing, etc. So it's normal. If you are in a time, in a phase of your life where you cannot go on a, extravagant vacation, it's okay, because the time will change. It doesn't mean that for the rest of your life you will not be able to go on the vacation, or will not, be able to buy the expensive pair of shoes. But for now, you just need to find a way so you will not constantly feel anxiety about your bills, about your money situation, because that's what is very important, is how you feel. It's not about what you have, it's how you feel. Because usually when your bills are higher than your income, it's very stressful. And by the way, that applies to all earners, not only people who have very, very low income. Some people have very high income and they still spend more than they make, and it's very stressful as well. So it's a matter of, again, it's a subconscious mind that you need to work on, and come to peace with establishing new patterns of thinking and acting around money. So that's another thing. Well, it's a kind of a, I like to say to my clients, you need to establish a pattern where you become richer every month and every year. So it's a discipline that you need to develop. So you pay yourself first, and then you pay your bills. And if you decide that, for example, every month, so every 2 weeks, I put 10% toward paying me, and paying you, it's your savings. So once you just make this decision, then you need to find a way to pay your bills with what's left. Because most people, they focus on paying bills, and then nothing left for them to save. And it's very important to have a emergency fund, because things happen in life, and sometimes you need to take 3 to 6 months off, your business or maybe job. So it's very important to establish this. But how do you get there? You get there with developing this discipline, when you pay yourself first, and then you see how you can find a way to pay your bills with what's left. And if it's not enough, you either have to find another source of income, or you need to decrease your expenses. So this is just a couple from this list. I think I have like 9 or 10 there. So I hope it was helpful, because it's a very long conversation to cover everything. But
yeah.
But I think it's it's not always easy to hear things that kind of you have to do, but you're not really quite doing them yet. But it's better to start now. This Chinese proverb, when is the best time to plant the tree? Now, 20 years ago. What is the next best time is now. So that's why I say it's never too late to start building your freedom. Because, you know, for some people, wealth means, or financial freedom means that, you know, they should have millions and millions and billions of dollars, but it's actually not that. It's actually financial independence is when your income, especially your passive income, is higher than your expenses. So you can, you know, feel free from being concerned, what if you lose this job, what if you get sick, what if you cannot pay your mortgage. So that's, and in my programs that I teach women how to calculate this number, how to not be afraid of, you know, looking at your numbers and feel confident that you can make it, and feel competent that yes, you are good enough to make it happen. So it's, I can and I will. That's what I like to say to my clients.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So how do you work with people? You talked about your clients. Do you work one-to-one with people? Do you have a group program?
Excuse me. I have right now, I offer programs that I coach during this program. So one of the programs that I think is foundational called Activate Effortless Wealth. Activate Effortless Wealth is a 10 weeks program that is focused on mindset. It's the foundation for the Millionaire Method. And it's a self-study program. And, you know, women who take this program, they have access to my Facebook private community where I'm constantly there. And I answer all the questions. So they work through the program. It's a videos, audio, transcript, and assignments program. And I have amazing results from women who took this program. So that's one. The next step is what I call Lasting Wealth Academy. This is 4 months, very comprehensive training that based on my the Millionaire Method. So it has 4 dimensions. It has a couple of modules focused on mindset. It has 4 modules focused on savvy money management or intentional money management, where we look at your specific financial situation, and each client calculates their own financial freedom number that they want to achieve. And then we talk how we can get to this number. And then the third dimension is strategic investing. That's where I teach fundamentals of stock market investing and rental real estate investing. And the last dimension is connecting to your divine power within and leveraging this power, because it's very, very important. And many people don't realize they have it, and don't realize that they actually can use it and leverage this. So that's this program. So I feel it's kind of, this program is culmination of all my experiences, all my you know, research and study that I've done in my life, and I'm very proud of this. So that's another program, and this program is coming up in March, actually. And I forgot to mention that actually the minimum investment for you know, people to learn from me is my book that you mentioned. So this is very inexpensive. Right now I'm offering this free, and this book has a lot of very packed information. And to be honest with you, I wrote this book for women, so it's not very big. I wanted women to read it when they wait for their kids at school, or maybe they wait for the appointment with a doctor or on a plane. So that was my intention, not to write something that would be very kind of overwhelming in terms of time that it takes. So it's easy to read. You mentioned that you saw this book. So the book, and then you know, this 10 weeks program, Activate Effortless Wealth, and Lasting Wealth Academy is a 4 months training that I offer in March. And toward the end of this lasting month Lasting Wealth Academy, I plan to offer 3 days workshop in the south of France near my villa. So I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, and then it would be a lot of bonuses, but I'm very proud of this program, and that's another one. And so after that, this program is a requirement to work with me on Make Your Wealth Happen Mastermind. So that's another level of working with me very closely, like basically have me on the dial on the cell phone. So that's and every program has like I said, a lot of bonuses and coaching and private time with me in terms of one-on-one lesson. I always offer some kind of additional things to help women to really get where they want to be. So because that's how I live my mission and my passion. And I probably could have retired by now. I should have, according to my husband. But, I really feel that this is my pathway. That's why I went through the challenges and experienced the successes that I had, because the universe wanted me to share these gifts that I received.
Yeah. And you're going to be helping so many people as a result, and you already are helping so many people, and even more are going to get to work with you, and it's really exciting. I'm going to be reading your book some more. I'm glad you said about it being an easy read, because I was thinking I'd take it with me when my son is in his swimming lesson tomorrow, so I'm going to be watching him while reading. So
There you go.
Fantastic. So I put a link up in the sticky in the chat box to get to Millen's website. So if you want to know any more, if you want to find out any more about her programs or get the book, then it's available on Millen's website. Do you have social media pages?
Yes, sure.
So,
guess what? What is my Facebook? The name of my Facebook page is Dare to Change Life. So very, very easy to find. And then only for women who want to build wealth, I have a private Facebook group called Wealth Building for Powerful Women. Make your money work for you. So that's another very good community that is very nurturing. We have amazing women there, very talented, very loving, very supportive. And I have my LinkedIn account. It's my name, Millen Lewis. And then I have Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and more, very important, YouTube. On YouTube, and I invite people, I have my own YouTube channel. On the YouTube, I upload the mini classes that I record from time to time. And I upload this mini classes on my YouTube channel. So it's another opportunity to learn from me. And I also have a blog. I blog almost every week on daretochange.life.com. There is a blog, and you can find information from why buy or not buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, to what kind of energy vibration different emotions represent. So yeah, I'm very, like I said, I'm very unusual among unusuals.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. I didn't realize you were on, I didn't know about your YouTube channel, so I'm going to check that out. That sounds like really good YouTube channel to look at. I quite often have YouTube on when I'm cooking. So I think you might start accompanying me when I do my cooking from now on.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you, Millen. Thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. It's nearly 10 o'clock for me now at night. I know it's the middle of the afternoon for you. So thank you so much. You have shared such a lot of amazing, so valuable content. Thank you for sharing your journey and your wisdom with me and the people listening. I do have one question for you from Tracy Jane before we go. what can you do to help yourself when you know you're on the right track, doing the right things, but the money's not flowing yet and you need it as you've bills to pay next week. So you talked about the bills earlier on. That was Tracy's question from earlier on.
Well, we kind of covered this, right? Your external reality usually reflects what is happening inside, and you may not be aware of it, but it's definitely a reflection. And however, sometimes you start changing it, but you know what? It takes time to catch up to this energetic form, because when you desire something, it gets created on an energetic level, right? And then when you afraid of something, it also gets created on an energetic level. And then it takes awareness to decide what you want to focus on. Like, it's not easy, but to focus on the reality that you want to create, on your dream life, it's really important. And then from this positive intention to create what you want to create, and not focusing like why it's not here yet, why it's not here. Because in Activate Effortless Wealth, I teach a lot of laws of abundance. It's not just about law of attraction. There are many laws of abundance that also very, very important when you are creating something, important to know. So just to answer her question, she definitely needs to look from perspective of, really, if it's not happening yet, number one, maybe I should still see what is it that blocking my flow of abundance. And number two, how can I be in a more elevated state of being, with your vibrational being, because that's how you align with the dream life that you want to have. It's very, very important. And I know it maybe sounds a little bit woo-woo, but it's so true, because, if you say, I want this life and I am such a positive person, but it's not working, it's not happening to you, just these phrases really negate all the positive things that you want to create. So it's a negative mind. It's very powerful. And, looks like we, as human beings, are wired for, avoiding danger and seeing, that this is not good and this is not working and this is dangerous. So it takes a lot of discipline and awareness and very, very intentional choice making, and choices lead to action. So.
Fantastic. Well, Tracy Jane, I hope that that's helped. It certainly helped me to think about, to make sure that I'm being aware and less panicky about my bills as well. So thank you ever so much, Milan. I'm sure that this is going to be really helpful for lots of people. So again, huge gratitude to you. And I'm going to finish off now, and namaste.
Namaste. Okay. Take care.
Thank you.